Hello everybody, and welcome to the first ever Lunatic Creative video review reaction. I don't know what we should call this, but I'll tell you what we are going to find out. How are we going to defeat Ultron?
Together.
And how will we break down Age of Ultron?
Together.
So if you haven't figured it out by now, we're going to break down Age of Ultron for you. A little review reaction video, since by now I think everybody's seen it. Obviously there'll be spoilers in this video. It's not going to be a spoiler-free thing. But judging by the tons of fucking cash this movie generated, I think we've all seen it. This guy's seen it twice. I've seen it once. Let's break it down. Sean, what'd you think of it?
So, I'll break down good and the bad, and then I'll let you break down the good and the bad. The good was, I think this movie let us see a lot of different sides of some of the characters that we haven't seen in previous ones. With Scarlet Witch going into their mind and breaking down the dark sides of their past. You know, with Scarlet Witch, you know, doing that basically showed us those sides we wanted to see. You saw a little bit of a new side of Hawkeye that I really enjoyed, because in the first one he was basically a bad guy. So it was cool to see that he actually had a family and kids. And I love the Thor premonition that he had, where he knew something wasn't right, and you know, his premonitions kind of lead to the Infinity Gauntlet to see what's going on there. I think Captain America's vision was probably the saddest. So you know, he still can be broken down from Agent Carter, and to me, I think the best part about the movie was the Vision. He wasn't essentially created the same way he was in the comics, but the Vision was probably the coolest part about the movie. I love the way he talked, very alienoid, and the best part was when he picked up the hammer and handed it over to Thor, which I thought was really awesome. I think that's the game changer part. And they're like, oh shit, someone else is worthy enough to actually carry the hammer Mjolnir. Some of the bad things, it did get a little messy at the end with a lot of introductions of the new characters. Scarlet Witch definitely killed it. She molded her way into the cast nicely. Quicksilver was kind of there and didn't mold himself in as much as we would like to, but it was a heartwarming twist when he passed away from saving Hawkeye at the end. At the end, I mean, you really don't know where the Hulk is at, what's going to happen to the Hulk, but it's kind of cool because it sets up the Civil War next and shows you some of the next characters that may be a part of the Infinity War Part 1, and maybe some of the characters that will come back for the second one. Like maybe Hawkeye will come back because he's in need. I think he's on the low-key retirement side right now. So I thought that was really cool. It visually looked great. The special effects were awesome. The Ultron voice was cool. I wish it was a little less comical than more of his... I wanted a darker and grittier Ultron, like just pure dark.
Well, I don't think you're going to get dark with these movies. Some main takeaways. One, there's a lot of one-liners and quips. If you like those in the first Avenger movie, you're going to like it here. Like you said, Quicksilver did end up dying. Was not a personally a fan of that, because I didn't care about him by that time. What they were setting up, and sort of as a red herring, was Hawkeye dying as you introduced themselves to the family. Lindsay Weir, a Freaks and Geeks fan.
That was the coolest appearance.
We know what she did after McKinley High School.
She married Hawkeye.
She married fucking Hawkeye, had secret kids with him. He didn't tell a fucking soul. Even when he was a bad Hawkeye, he must not have mentioned that. She must be totally in the dark about that awful month where he was a total bad guy. But overall, I'd say the movie's good, not great. I think they didn't raise the stakes quite high enough, because we knew that this movie's just set up for ultimately Infinity War, for Civil War. You saw two sort of factions break off in the end: the new Avengers, which is the Scarlet Witch, Vision, Captain America leading it, Falcon, and was there anybody else? And War Machine. So it sort of set things up. So that definitely the stage to Civil War. I guess
Ant-Man, we'll see Ant-Man jump in then.
I'm not totally convinced he is. I think that movie is made more out of the lore than the rest. We'll see. We have to see how that goes. I think he will show up in other movies. He'll be used as a weapon. I don't know how big of a focal point he will be. What would I say else? Visually, I think it probably would look good. I saw it in 3D though. So again, it's darker. I don't really like 3D movies if they weren't specifically made for that. You can tell that Disney didn't put all the effects possible into it to make it like the best possible 3D representation. So there was a little off. They were good performances, though. I think everybody really performed well. I think out of all the movies, it's kind of like Robert Downey Jr. is starting to take more of a back seat because he's not going to be there for the long haul. In 15 years, I don't think he'll be in these movies. But Chris Evans, I think, shined. What came off to me, though, I can't take Chris Hemsworth. Chris Hemsworth is Chris Hemsworth to me. He's come to this weird morph situation where he's both Thor and Chris Hemsworth. He does nail the accent tremendously. One performance I did not like was Don Cheadle. He had a lot of one-liners. I think they fell flat. Robin Scherbatsky from How I Met Your Mother, Kobe Smolder. She had a bigger role than she did in the first one, which was interesting to see.
Yeah, she played her part well. She didn't overdo anything. She played the Maria Hill, the guy, the Oracle in the DC universe gave you the information that they needed and that we needed to hear because what was going on. And I liked how it actually showed them, because in the first one, lots of people were saying, how can they hear each other? Well, obviously they have their little, they put their little earpieces in, because that was the thing in the first one. People were just, how can they hear each other? And obviously we know now that they all have earpieces to communicate with one another.
The action was, it was good, but the beginning action scene, which should have like really took you in, I don't think did it. The sound was mixed weird. I've heard it mentioned other places, and I happen to agree. I think the sound was weird. I don't think like the impacts were that impactful, for lack of a better term. It didn't sound as resounding, but I think that's just a sound mixing issue. It looked cool. Some other things, because I haven't been familiar with all the movies leading up to it, and I plead ignorance on this part, but from what I've told, it's sort of undone what Iron Man 3 was, him basically retiring from being Iron Man, yet he's back in the fray here. Setting up Hydra and Captain America Winter Soldier 2 was kind of undone really quickly because they beat them like that as soon as the movie started. And although I understand why they did that, I think we could have used a little more exposition for that part, but there's so much in these movies that they packed in. There's so many characters, so many moving parts, and it seems like they veered. They didn't know Civil War was going to happen when they started writing Winter Soldier. And when you have all these different writers writing these movies, there's going to be some things haphazardly thrown in. You're going to be picking and choosing what these movies you want to continue on. Ultimately, though, it's a good flick. Is it as good as Avengers 1? I don't think so. I think Avengers 1 was near perfection for a superhero movie. It's definitely up there in my top 5 superheroes movies of all time. This one, not so much, although it's a fun summer blockbuster. Very fun, and keyword fun. When we saw it, a lot of kids in the theaters, I think you're seeing that, Marvel and Disney doing what they do best and getting the kids hooked, and I think they are hooked. I think this is a good sign for the upcoming Batman vs. Superman, Suicide Squad movies, because those are going to have a darker tone, and I think that's going to be welcome now. I think we see that Marvel is the happy-go-lucky, funny one-liners, the good guys win in the end. And I think that opens up a nice little hole for DC's movies. I'm just going through my notes. I'd say it's not as epic as the first. You knew how it was going to turn out. Not that you didn't know how the first one was going to turn out. This one, you definitely knew. This is all set up for what's to come. I think Quicksilver was wasted, as I said. Hulk, again, he's great. He shines in these movies. The humanization of Hulk as he was Hulk was quite amazing, as he was sort of drifting out of his Hulk green state. You could see like the humanity in his eyes.
The metamorphosis of him becoming back to Bruce Banner looked really well on film, and you can tell that like every time he does do it, it does hurt him. It's not like he's going. He's like, oh.
And I love that for the symbolism and sort of the metaphor of what that means. I also did not mind his love story that sort of gotten trashed a bit online. Him and Black Widow having a bit of a romance. I don't hate it as much as some do. I think it was fine. I wouldn't have ended it the way it does, where he sort of shuns her. I would have had her shun him, just as a little, change up the normal trope, so to speak.
Maybe we'll see in the comic books. Maybe we'll see the Vision and Scarlet Witch get it on, because in the comic books they actually marry each other. But I guess she's got to be kind of crazy to get in the sack with a man-made guy from a test tube.
Well, see, they're all pretty crazy for what they do, and that was a nice theme. Was they kept saying this, where somebody might die. They kept alluding to the fact that this could be the end for one of them.
Yeah, the lines when Captain America leads the team, and the lines he says, they really get you going. They're like, if you die, well then brush it off. Get back up. Or we fight together. We sing together. He really gives you that that Captain America, yeah, this guy deserves to be the leader because he doesn't let his ego, like Tony Stark, get in the way. Like, he's all for the team and wants everything to be, communicated through the team. And I think some of his arguments with Tony Stark in this one are the reasons why we'll see their continuation of their arguments go about in the Civil War.
Exactly. I think this sets up Civil War. It really legitimizes Chris Evans along with what Winter Soldier did, as he's a superstar too. Captain America is a leader, and I think you can see those two growing factions that they are going to go head to head in Civil War, and it should be amazingly awesome.
Few people up. Spider-Man will be in the next one too.
No Spider-Man, and there's no post-credit scene, just a mid kind of credits teaser-esque of Thanos. Sort of what the gist of it was. He was like, "I'll just do this myself."
I'll do this myself.
So
and you do hear the Josh Brolin voiceover, so they didn't like edit in anything.
And on that note, Spader I think did well. You mentioned that sort of in passing. I think Spader did quite well as Ultron. I feel like all these movies sort of who they fight against are very CGI heavy. So you're kind of like, we're just sort of seeing the same things represented over and over again as sort of metallic robots, Iron Man-esque things, which again, it's forgivable. They're not there's not too many practical effects going on in this movie, and I hope the future ones they start taking from Star Wars and start doing things more practical. But overall, I'd say it's a good movie. I don't think it's groundbreaking. I don't think you necessarily need to add this to your Blu-ray collection and run out. I think
if you're a fan,
if you're a completionist,
I think you will.
But where the Marvel pantheon of movies go, I think this will be seen as a sophomore slump. But it hasn't deterred me one bit from Civil War or Infinity Wars or Ant-Man or any of the other movies. It was just simply, you cannot live up to what the first one did. The first one changed the game forever. So,
I mean, it's expected of most first part of movies. It really sets the tone of like, oh, we're going to see more of something else. Like the first one had a lot of the tone of, having them find a way to get together, and then Loki breaking them down, disbanding themselves, figuring out how to get back together and accomplish, saving the world.
And even though they had a lot of characters in this movie, they didn't have all of them. They didn't put in Iron Man's girl, Pepper. They didn't.
I could deal with that.
They didn't put in Loki. It wasn't. They didn't jam pack every single character in this, so that was good.
And apparently Loki did have a part, but they later edited it out.
I'm sure that the movie was much longer. There's some things that were not very clearly explained, like Thor's pool of visions, or sort of the beginning wasn't explained if you didn't see the previous movies. Scarlet Witch's powers weren't really clearly explained. Quicksilver's were self-explanatory because he's running around.
They said they were created their powers, but obviously in the Marvel universe, you know them as Magneto's kids, so you just obviously assume.
And that's mutants. The thing. They had a crutch where they can't say they're mutants, so they were using the term enhanced, and that's fine. I think it worked well. They were Eastern European from a fake country that they created. I found it quite interesting that Marvel seems to use a lot of, outside of America, they use fake places, like wherever that was that they made up. Yet DC movies take place in fake cities, but the ones they go to in the movies, like Hong Kong and Batman, were real cities. I just thought that was sort of interesting.
It's like a mumble jumble of real cities versus fake
cities. So they both ended up using that, even though Marvel, uses New York City and other real American cities. I actually liked, and I saw some hate online for when they went to Hawkeye's house. I thought it humanized every one of them.
Yeah, but
to see Black Widow talk with Hawkeye's kids, and sort of you see that she has that human bond with them, and how much he cares for his kids, and then the interaction between Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. there was quite good.
And I feel like we wanted to see that part of Hawkeye too, because he was kind of wasted in the first one by just being mind control and being the bad guy. He's literally bad through the entire movie.
He's a part of the team now.
And then at the end he fights with the Avengers, and now I love the line when she tries to, brainwash him or get in his brain. He jabs her with the little electric bullet, and he's like, I tried that before, don't like it. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it was, again, overall, solid movie. Don't think it's going to break any new ground other than in financially, everybody went to go see it. I don't think people are necessarily going to walk out of there disappointed. A lot worse ways to spend $15.
Of course.
Anything else, Sean?
No. If you haven't seen it, try to see it. I saw it in 3D and then also standard def. 3D IMAX, I heard from a few people they thought it looked really good. I mean, if I saw it once in 3D and standard def, I'll be fine if I don't see it in 3D IMAX. Star Wars is definitely one. Seeing the Star Wars trailer.
The trailer was a cool thing.
And speaking of Star Wars, today is...
Today we're recording it. Might not go up today. Probably won't go up today, but it is. It May the 4th be with you day.
My awesome Star Wars shirt. It's a faded X-Wing shirt. Can't really see it, but
we're repping hard. A lot of sales for video games going on. A lot of hype. A Vanity Fair article dropped today that you can read about on our Facebook page. So if you go to Facebook, search Lunatic Creative. We're gonna post, and Sean's really good. He's sort of the linchpin of this. He posts every big news article and story that goes on throughout the day. So if you just follow our Facebook feed throughout the day, you're not going to be uninformed of what's going on. And that movie's looking great, and as part of the Age of Ultron sort of experience, seeing that trailer in 3D you get the same feeling you get. Like, every time I see that trailer, I want to see this movie more. And seeing it on the big screen, you sort of saw more details of the trailer. It sort of solidified some things, and so I'm ready for that movie-going experience. That's what I'm really looking forward to. And that's not a knock on Age of Ultron. It's just that's what I haven't seen in so long, is a Star Wars movie. So I'm ready to see a Star Wars movie
with up-to-date CGI, up-to-date special effects. The sound will sound great. The first prequels, really shitty acting, and I think J.J. Abrams took,
he got the best fucking actors. It was today also announced Adam Driver is Kylo Ren, something we've been saying on the podcast since January, and it's been confirmed. I think he's gonna pull that off. Lupita, whatever, I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Sorry, Lupita, if you're watching this. She's gonna be a character, a CGI character, and they're showing sort of the motion capture they have on her face. So everything's lining up for that one to be golden, and I think to break records the first Avengers and this Avengers set. So I think as fans, as geeks, as nerds, as people who are into popular culture, I don't think there's a better time. We want to keep doing these videos for you. If you have any ideas for videos, comment below. Share this video with your friend. Please come and listen to our podcast, lunaticreative.com, or on iTunes, search it for us, Lunatic Creative. Our website's www.lunaticreative.com. We have a Twitter, @lunaticcreative. We're on Instagram, lunatic_creative on that one, and Sean is at the helm of there, and he just posts some really cool stuff and gets involved. So thank you everybody for watching this first ever one-of-a-kind video. That will certainly be, we're going to do more of these. So stay ready. Excuse any technical delays or technical things. You might have heard some noise earlier. We'll see. We're going to work out the kinks of this. Thank you, though. There's people that subscribed from our toy giveaway video. Unfortunately, we didn't hit the 39 likes, so nobody got the
Disappointing.
toy. But it doesn't mean you're gonna go in empty-handed. Watch out. We have many toys to give away. We have connections to more toys. So watch us. Tell us what you want to see. We're here to entertain you first and foremost. So for Sean Davis, I'm Jason Paul.